Okay, and tell folks to refresh their pages, and then we can get started. You know, my computer's being a little glitchy.
I haven't seen you with red hair before.
So funny, people keep saying that.
Looks good.
Thank you. It's not red.
Of course not.
It must look red on, like Google reddens it or something. It's not red. Anyway, we're live on TuDiabetes, so we could talk about my hair or we could talk about diabetes and things that we're thankful for. Hi everybody, my name is Emily and I am the community manager on TuDiabetes, working with the Diabetes Hands Foundation. And this is our pre-Thanksgiving edition with Gary Scheiner. And our title today is Things We're Thankful For. Gary, maybe there's someone who hasn't yet met you, so I've just put the camera on you. Would you start off by telling us all about you?
Hi, everybody. I vote we talk about Emily's hair. I think it looks really nice.
Oh, thanks very much. I think it's a
we
really
can
topic.
vote on what color everybody thinks your hair is. I say red. Emily thinks it's some other color, though. I don't know what. So everyone, type in your answer. What color do you think Emily's hair really is?
It's very fascinating.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. Name's Gary Scheiner. I'm a certified diabetes educator with a private practice near Philadelphia and have worked in this field for about 20 years. Along the way, I wrote 6 books. Think Like a Pancreas is one. And work with people worldwide. I have clients all over the world, primarily with type 1 diabetes, help them manage their blood sugars and learn all the latest and greatest tricks for taking good care of ourselves. And I say ourselves because I've had type 1 for 30 years, going on 30 years. It's coming up on 30 years. I'm on my 28th different insulin pump. I've used CGM since 2002 when they were big, nasty apparatuses. Not the sleek modular designs we have now. And I'm a big sports fanatic. I work out a lot and love my Philadelphia sports teams. And you know what Thursday is, Emily, don't you?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's that too? It's the Eagles-Cowboys game. This is big. This is beyond big.
Wow.
And it also happens to be Thanksgiving. That's just a bonus.
Yeah, secondarily to the sporting event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a sports fan at all.
So I've heard. But you do dance, and that keeps you in great shape.
Yes, and actually this morning I took a spinning class at the gym for the first time in probably about 20 years, and I'm pretty surprised that I survived it. Literally.
Yeah. Spinning's fun.
No, it's not.
They use all kinds of imagery to make you feel like you're in exotic places while you're pedaling in one spot.
I actually felt like I was being hit in the head with a baseball bat over and over again for the entire 60 minutes. But the class you took sounds pretty good.
That's an interesting imagery. Okay, now we're going to turn up the tension and pretend someone's whapping you in the head with a baseball bat. I bet that's a popular class.
It's just a little too loud is all.
Yeah, were there a lot of people in there, or was it kind of scarce?
There were probably about 10 people, and they were fierce. They were very determined, and I think they do a lot of spinning. And it was like being part of a cult.
Yeah, those are the that was the masochist class you took.
I think so. I'm going to go back. So what do we know about diabetes?
Spinning should make your blood sugar go down a heck of a lot.
You know what? Funny you should say that. It sent it up for many hours. It's coming down now. We could talk about why that happens.
We could. But it's not one of the things that we're thankful for now, is it?
Oh, that's true. I'm not thankful for that. You're right. That's off topic.
See, I'm thankful for how Exercise screws up my blood sugar all day. Actually
Right.
made a
It doesn't go
list.
on the list. Should we start through your
Top
list?
10 list
Gary
from the
made a
home
list of things
office
he's
in
thankful for.
Balkenwood, Pennsylvania. Things that I'm thankful for this diabetes Thanksgiving. So let's see how many of these were on your list, Emily. You know, I like the commercial where people talk about how they're thankful for the DVR. Well, I am thankful for the CGM, the continuous glucose monitor. I am very thankful for.
I am too.
Why do you like it?
Why do I like it? Because I know what my blood sugar is. Because I use it for trending as it is intended, and it helps it. I think it makes a world of difference in blood sugar, blood glucose control, which is not to say that my control is spectacular, because I'd like it to be better, but I think it's the best tool we've got so far.
Okay, well, that sounds very nice, Emily, and very on label according to specs.
Yeah, I recently called customer service, and they reminded me some things about on-label usage. So why do you like CGM?
I really like it because I don't have to prick my fingers as much,
Oh.
which is not exactly on-label usage, but it's off-finger usage. That's the way I look at it. You know, I used to prick my fingers 6 to 10 times a day. Mm-hmm. Needed a reading before every meal and all 12 snacks that I ate, before exercise, before driving, after meals to check the post-meal control. It was out of hand. That's a lot of finger pricks. You know how many times a day I prick my finger now?
How many?
2.
Whoa. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So they say that we're not actually supposed to dose according to what a CGM says.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing you dose more than twice a day. And to me, it feels a little like, well, but if I'm not supposed to dose based on what it says, then why don't I just test my blood sugar with a blood test every time? So what would you say about that?
I think if the conditions are right, it's trustworthy.
Good answer.
You know, there are some times where you shouldn't be trusting it to dose. You know, if your calibration readings have not been matching up well, don't trust it. If your glucose is rising or falling pretty sharply, don't trust it. Is that lag time built in? If you're on day 1 of your sensor, don't trust it. And the day 1, the data's very unreliable. And I think anybody who's new to CGM and hasn't used the system before really should get a couple of weeks of experience before they begin to trust it. But other than that, I mean, if your system's working well, you got some experience, you're not on day 1, there's no reason not to. Fact is, you know, at least with the new Dexcom system, the data is actually a little more accurate than some of the meters that are out there. Yet, we're using meters to calibrate it. Think of that. You know, Dexcom, there's a new algorithm for their receiver. It got the accuracy to within an average of 9% of the lab values. That's phenomenal. There are some meters that are not that reliable. So, and again, besides cutting down on finger sticks, I mean, I appreciate knowing what direction I'm headed. It gives us that ability to forecast where we're going to be in a little while. Because knowing that your glucose is 150 at this point in time doesn't mean you're staying there. In fact, you can guarantee you aren't going to stay there. But knowing if you're rising or falling with that 150, you can foresee where you're going to be in a little while. It's safe to drive, exercise, take a test, go to sleep. You know, anytime you need to have your wits about you or just be in a safe place, it's very helpful. And the alerts I find really useful too.
Yeah.
How high does your blood sugar have to get before you feel like you're way too high? What kind of numbers do you need to have?
You know, it actually really varies by the day. I was around 200 for a while this morning, and I could really feel it. But there are some days that I don't actually feel it until it's, I don't know, closer to 280 even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say most people don't feel different until they're getting up near 300 or higher. You could be in the high hundreds, low 200s. It doesn't feel much different than being in the 100s. So the sensor is really good at alerting us when we're approaching those much higher levels. And the same at the low end. Got to be 90% of type 1s out there have got to have hypoglycemia unawareness in some form. We're just not very good at sensing when we're just mildly low. So most of us have to be in the 30, 40, 50 range before we recognize there's a problem. But the sensors are pretty good at picking up on when we're in the 60, 70, 80 range, where it's still a safe place to treat it and fix it. So for that, I'm thankful. That's my first thing.
I like that. And actually, we have a question in the chat room. So folks in the chat room right now are listing things they're thankful for, and we have an awesome and beautiful list going.
Any comments about your hair color?
Yeah.
What are they saying?
It's really off topic, Gary, but
there's a diversion. The people want to know.
Apparently, a couple of people might find it interesting. We have Jess Pat in the chat room is saying that she's thankful for Night Scout and is interested to hear your thoughts about Night Scout.
Oh, so Night Scout is the kind of web-based program that allows you to send data from a Dexcom to a cell phone so that a loved one can be viewing your data anywhere. They can pick it up from just about any place. I can go onto my phone, and if I enter the code, I can get a patient's data that lives in Seattle. But his parents, obviously, are the ones that need that information. So for loved ones who are traveling, for parents of children, it's a nice feature. So the Night Scout allows use of that with the Dexcom. And Dexcom also just came out with a device. I've actually got it here. Let me go. Be right back.
While Gary wanders around.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Okay, that was fast.
This guy, the Share device, the Dexcom drops into this. It transmits to a cell phone, which transmits to the internet, so that the data can be picked up by another cell phone. So again, for kids who are away or at school or in their bedroom and the parent wants to see the data, it's accessible by multiple people who want to access it. It works. It'll generate alerts at the other end for highs and lows. The only potential drawback are the security issues. It's probably not as secure as Fort Knox, but I say who cares? I mean, this is data that I don't know why somebody could benefit or damage anybody by accessing the data, but it's useful. It's very helpful to have this available. Medtronic has a system. It's called the MySentry. It's like it's like an alarm clock. It works in someone's home, and it takes data signals from a Medtronic sensor, transmits it, to anywhere in someone's home, so that the parents can see data at their bedside. So these kind of things are becoming a little bit more user-friendly, and being able to share the information over a distance. You want number 2 on the list, or do you have any other questions there?
Yeah, no, let's proceed to your number 2.
Number 2, I am thankful for carb counting. Now, you might think, carb counting, it's a pain in the neck. But I'll tell you, if you can carb count, you can eat anything and manage your blood sugar.
Yeah, you have to stipulate that last piece, because most of us can already fit a whole lot of stuff in our mouths. It's the last bit that matters. So you're thankful for carb counting because it allows you to eat anything and manage your blood sugar?
Yeah. If you know what you're doing, and you can count your carbs, you can match it with your insulin. and keep your blood sugars reasonably well controlled. And it was not always that way.
No.
Back in the day, you had these intermediate acting insulins you took, and you had fixed doses that you took. You matched your life, you conformed your life and your diet to that program. Now it's the other way around. You conform your insulin to your life, to your diet. So carb counting has opened up doors and windows and ceilings and everything for people with diabetes who want to enjoy what they want to enjoy. And I'm not saying we should be eating junk food and candy all the time, but on special occasions we can enjoy this stuff just like anyone else and don't have to suffer with terrible glucose levels as a result.
I think we have a lot of people in the chat room right now who had diabetes before carb counting became a thing, and probably remember the days of being prescribed things like a Weight Watchers diet, and you were told now you are going to eat a Weight Watchers diet for the rest of your life, which was awesome. That was what we did in order to have sort of steady, consistent food intake that was then matched with the insulin that we were going to give ourselves no matter what, always the same dose.
Well, that was the proverbial exchange system, which we promptly exchanged for a more sensible program called carb counting. It was a complicated approach, didn't work well, not practical by any stretch. So
I have a question for you about carb counting. How do you carb count Thanksgiving dinner?
You allow yourself. You do it liberally. You allow yourself to enjoy your Thanksgiving meal and don't get too hung up by it. I mean, there's some basic principles that you can apply. Starchy things like potatoes and stuffing and corn, you can just kind of ballpark that stuff's around 30 to 40 grams of carb per cup. And your fist is about 1 cup, so it's a good way to just kind of estimate how much you're having. How much carb is there in turkey, Emily?
There is no carb in turkey.
That is correct. Don't have all the turkey you want. Woohoo!
I'm vegetarian. I don't want any turkey. I want potatoes and stuffing.
There you go. Just figure about 30 grams a cup, and you'll be all right. The thing that most people ignore on Thanksgiving is the fat. There's a lot of fat in the food, so you have to, if you're on a pump, you got to crank your basal up for a while. I like to raise mine 50% for 8 hours with those high-fat meals. And if you're on injections, it's a little trickier. But if you happen to have some NPH around, some extra NPH will help offset that. Otherwise, you're probably going to rise overnight. But hey, for one night, I think everyone can survive. All right, so carb counting.
I like your tip about paying attention to fat as well. I think that one catches me off guard over and over again. So you said it was you recommend, or what you do is about a 50% basal increase for about 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Does that vary a lot from person to person, or is that a good rule of thumb for anybody to try?
It's a good starting point. Everyone's going to have their own unique needs. But if you try the 50%, see what happens, you can fine-tune it the next time. Fact is, most people need a little bit more than that to offset a really high-fat meal. But it's a safe starting point. And if you're nervous about it, then go to my thankful thing number 1. Use your CGM. Let it catch a low before you're actually low.
Yeah.
Which so actually ties in nicely to my third thing. My third thing I'm thankful for, which is fruit punch Dex tabs. I never liked glucose tablets. Never, ever, ever. And then I found these fruit punch ones, and I kind of like them. It doesn't make treating hypoglycemia the chore that it used to be. And I don't feel like I have to find whatever chocolate is around, because that's not good for treating lows. These fruit tablets I do like.
It's nice to have your favorite kind of fruity tablets.
You got a favorite flavor of glucose tablets?
Yeah, I like the coconut ones. But I can only, oh, look at the face that you're making. Wait, hang on, let me put the camera back on you. Make that face again. Oh, you got them too. Gary also really loves cooking. His face now has melted off of the front of his head. But they only,
I can tell you what we sell the most of. We carry the Dex tabs here, and we sell more of the raspberry than any other. That seems to be popular. Orange is the least, and the grape and whatever else are in the middle. But I found these fruit punch ones at Walmart, and I really like them.
And you love them.
I don't love them. I don't want to marry them or anything, but I can tolerate them. And I'll tell you, there's nothing treats a low as well as dextrose. Dextrose is the bomb for treating hypos. It's much better than juice, much better than anything. I mean, it's really quick, and they're pre-measured, so it's a good way to go.
We had a question while we were talking about Thanksgiving dinner and how to try to carb count and troubleshoot Thanksgiving dinner about super boluses. Would you talk to us a bit about what a super bolus is and how and when to use them?
All right. Well, a super bolus really has nothing to do with Thanksgiving dinner. What it is a technique for trying to minimize after-meal blood sugar spikes. John Walsh out in California developed this concept. He figured that if you shut off your basal for the next 3 hours and just front-load it as a bolus, you'll get more insulin working in the early phase of that 3 hours, and it'll help mitigate the post-meal spike that we tend to get. But during a meal like Thanksgiving dinner, we see just the opposite. It's a lot of slow-digesting food, and it's a large quantity of food which takes a long time to digest. So we see more issues with people's blood sugars dropping after they eat than we do of it spiking. So if anything, people might need to delay their mealtime insulin or spread it out over time if they use their pump features for that. The super bolus, theoretically, it might work a bit. I've not seen it work in real life, though. I've had a few people try it, and it doesn't seem to help. And when you shut the basal down for 3 hours, you end up with this kind of whiplash effect afterwards, where there's no basal working for a while, and glucose starts to rise.
All right. All right, so let's go on. We're up to your number 4.
Number 4. I'm thankful for GLP-1s. Now you might say, what the hell's a GLP-1? Well, GLP-1s are medications that were really designed for type 2 diabetes to help people to lower their sugars and lose weight, but they also work in type 1s. And these are injectables that are taken once a day or even once a week. And I use one, and I find it does a really nice job of keeping my appetite under control. If I don't use it, I am just a remorseless eating machine. I cannot stop. I just am snacking constantly. And when I'm not eating, I'm thinking about eating. So the GLP-1 medication, I use one called liraglutide. And I take it once a day, and it keeps my appetite nicely controlled. I can have my meals, and then that's it. Thanksgiving, I'm debating whether or not to use it because I want to pig out, but otherwise, I find it really helpful.
Awesome. And you guys, Gary's not joking about that eating thing. I've eaten a couple of meals with Gary, and I was really impressed with how much you could put down, Gary. You've got some skills there.
Yeah. All right. Ready for number 5?
Yeah.
Number 5 is a lot of acronyms and initials. I'm thankful for CWD, JDRF, AADE, DHF, ADA. These are some of the organizations in the diabetes field. We saw DHF was in there.
We like that one especially.
What does DHF stand for?
Diabetes Hands Foundation.
Right. Could you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Well, I work for the Diabetes Hands Foundation, and TuDiabetes is a program of the Diabetes Hands Foundation. So it's the umbrella organization that governs TuDiabetes, and we also have other programs, including the Big Blue Test, which hopefully everyone in the chat room right now is aware of because it's been going on for about a month. In fact, tomorrow is the last day of the Big Blue Test. So at Diabetes Hands, our mission at Diabetes Hands Foundation is to connect and engage people touched by diabetes. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And you're thankful for us.
Yeah, I am. I mean, the people, not just DHF, but a lot of the other ones I mentioned, JDRF, Children with Diabetes, the American Diabetes Association, the Association of Diabetes Educators. I mean, these are organizations in which nobody is getting rich. These are all people whose hearts are in the right place. They're doing things and working very hard to improve the lives of people with diabetes, and also do good fundraising, help support research that hopefully will continue to make our lives better and hopefully find a cure someday. So for that, I am quite thankful. All right. My number 6 item, are there any organizations that, other ones that you're thankful for, or maybe somebody in the studio audience is thankful for?
Well, I think if we want to list other ones we're thankful for, we have to hear your list again, because there was a whole bunch of stuff on there.
All right. Well, Children with Diabetes, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, the Association of Diabetes Educators, the Diabetes Hands Foundation, and the American Diabetes Association.
Oh, JD,
Probably left some out that I'm thankful for, but I just jotted this down real quick.
Totally. Manny, come over here.
I was making noises.
Manny was making noises, so come on over here. So I told him you might as well just come on over here. What other organizations are we thankful for?
I'd throw Tide Pool in there, but they don't have an acronym. They're just
TP. Blip.
We only want to be thankful for organizations that have acronyms right now. That's our focus.
Glue. Well, that's not an acronym, but like Type 1D exchange.
I was thinking, T1D.
T1D. That's an acronym. Yeah.
Type 1D exchange. I was thinking Carb DM, which is here local in the Bay Area.
In DM.
I spoke at their program last Friday. Phenomenal bunch of people. Wow.
Absolutely.
Oh, TCOYD.
TCOYD. Thank you. Steve
look,
Evans.
Hey. Here's
Talk about a
one.
bunch of people whose hearts are in the right place. They're educating the public en masse in various cities.
We have another really good one in the chat room right now. Curly Sarah said DOC, which is the Diabetes Online community. Which is all of us here because we have diabetes online.
Yet.
What?
Can't use it yet. It's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sarah. You're not allowed to write that in the chat room yet. We just made a rule that you have to not have written that in the chat room. Gary, what's your next one?
Any other organizations that I didn't mention?
DSMA, we've got Kayla in the chat room. It's saying DSMA. That's a great one. Marie is pointing out Diabetes Advocates, also known as the DA. DF.
No, I don't think they use the acronym, but they write the Diatribe newsletter. That's Kelly's group. Amazing.
Diatribe Foundation. They do awesome stuff. They're out here in the Bay Area as well.
Another one. CDN, College Diabetes Network.
Yeah.
Good one.
There are tons of these to be thankful for.
We could.
That's it.
It's like a categories type of a thing.
We're asking around in the office now. Mike and Desiree are both here in the office with us. They think we got everything.
They're scouring the internet right now for more answers. All right. Well, let me give you my number 6.
Oh, CIM.
I'm thankful for. And I go back to the days when, if you wanted a calorie-free soft drink, you drank this stuff called Tab.
yeah.
It tasted like water from the East River with bubbles in it. I'm thankful for Coke Zero. Call me crazy. I'm addicted to that stuff.
Wait, didn't Fresca exist at the same time as Tab? Weren't those the two that we had?
I think Fresca was after that, because I don't think Fresca was made with saccharin. Saccharin's not the best tasting sweetener. But I like Coke Zero.
No, Fresca's good.
Yeah.
As a kid, that was my diet soda that I got to drink, and I was okay with that.
I picture them in the Coca-Cola laboratory saying, "We need a new flavor. What are we going to give them? How about a soda that tastes like grapefruit?"
Since everyone loves grapefruit juice so much, and especially children.
People guzzle grapefruit juice by the teaspoon. So they made a whole 2-liter bottle of this stuff. All right. Another thing that I'm thankful for, this is number 7 on my list. And this might sound a little strange, but web-based software. And this is more from a professional standpoint. It makes life so much easier to help people manage their diabetes. Web-based software for downloading pumps and meters and sensors and logging systems and apps, anything, all the web-based stuff has really, really made things better. And the folks at Tidepool are working to put all of it together in some way, but just being able to get data from a patient in Australia and someone in New Zealand and Canada and California and be able to evaluate their data centrally is such a big help. And what I've learned is that so few people are looking at their own data, which is unfortunate. There are some good programs out there for downloading and charting and displaying, getting statistics and whatnot. I'm curious how many of the people that are listening in now download their own devices and look at their own data, because it doesn't happen a whole lot.
It's true, and let's ask in the chat room. Hey, folks in the chat room, let us know how many of you download and analyze your own data. I have to say, I don't do it as much as I should. I do it on occasion, though. I'm not a complete deadbeat at that. But we have a question for you in the chat room, Gary. What was it? What web-based software do you use specifically?
I use a lot of them. So I got clients who use all kinds of different devices. The main ones that I use routinely are CareLink from Medtronic. I use Diasend for a whole host of pumps and meters now in CGM. We use Copilot for certain devices. And those are the 3 biggies, or 4 biggies. And we also have a lot of clients downloading their Dexcom systems, and even though Studio is not web-based, the data file can be sent to us, so it's kind of shareable. But anything that's easily shareable as far as the data and can be integrated is wonderful. Why the FDA is so slow at approving things like that and making them jump through so many hoops, I don't get, because they're being used in other parts of the world, and nobody's blowing themselves up, as far as I know, with by downloading their devices. You haven't heard of anyone blowing themselves up, have you, Emily?
I haven't. No, I haven't heard of anybody exploding,
That's
spontaneously
good.
exploding when they download their data. Now, I will say sometimes I feel like I have little explosions in my brain when I see the information in that visual form, and I think, oh my God.
That's different. That's human perception. I'm talking about you plug in, you download, and kaboom. And it just doesn't happen.
No, I don't know of that happening to anyone. We have a bunch of folks in the chat room right now who are saying they really like My Sugar. Have you tried that? Have you tried that, Gary?
My Sugar is an app. That's a really good one. It makes it easy to track all of your info in one place, and it actually displays the data in a way that, as a clinician, I can use. Most programs give you this chronological list, which is useless crap. This makes logbooks, does a pretty nice job. It's spelled M-Y-S-U-G-R. Nothing's spelled right in diabetes. You might have noticed that.
We have a question. I think maybe it came up partly because people were talking about Diasend. Somebody's actually asking what you think of the Animas Vibe.
What I think of the Animas Vibe pump?
Yeah. Have you tested that one?
I haven't worn it, but I have clients who use it because we work with a lot of people in the UK. It's definitely an upgrade over the current Animas pump. It'll display Dexcom data right on screen, sets off the alarms right on the pump, so it eliminates the need to carry around the Dexcom receiver. And they made a few other improvements. One of the real drawbacks now is when you program a bolus, the pump will make a suggestion, and then you have to scroll that dose in. It takes a while. The new system, the Vibe, it automatically defaults right to that number with one button push, so it makes bolusing easier. I'm trying to remember what else. They changed the order of some of the menus. So instead of having to go to literally through 9 different screens to get to the setup for changing dosing formulas, you can just go to like the 3rd or 2nd screen and get to that really fast. So they're making improvements in the system.
Awesome. Let's go on to your next. We're at number 8 now?
Number 8, and this is something that I've experienced personally as a result of having diabetes. Whenever I go to amusement parks, I get something called the Special Assistance Card. The Special Assistance Card
is it a blue post-it like the thing you're holding up right now?
It's actually, sometimes it's laminated. It's that good. It's that powerful. Because if you tell the people in the management office that you have diabetes and you have this medicine that can spoil in the heat, the last thing they want is they don't want lawsuits on their hands. So they just give you this card. It says, whatever you need, sir, you and your whole family, you just go to the front of every line. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
It is. I got 4 screaming, bratty kids. The last thing I want to do is be standing in long lines. And, man, Dad is king when I've got that card. They love me.
Awesome.
Makes up for all the stuff I do to them the rest of the year. So the next time you
hang on a sec. I don't go to a lot of amusement parks because I get real motion sick.
Mm-hmm.
But this makes me think of a diabetes-related question, which is if you get sick, not like I have a bug sick, but I'm car sick or I'm seasick or I'm Disneyland sick or whatever. Do you have recommendations for what to do with blood sugar if you can't keep food down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if your glucose.
Hopefully this won't apply for anyone for Thanksgiving. This is not a Thanksgiving question, I hope.
Yeah. Well, if your glucose is dropping and you can't keep food down, the first thing you want to do is get a pen and paper and write your will really fast. No, I'm kidding. You should be able to manage that pretty well. And one of the things that usually will work is a low sugar beverage like a sports drink, or even ginger ale, regular ginger ale. Low sugar drinks are often tolerated even if your stomach is upset. You can also give yourself small doses of glucagon. So if you have a glucagon kit, mix it up and then take maybe 10 or 20 units out with an insulin syringe and just inject it into the fat layer under the skin, and that'll help bring your blood sugar up. If you're on a pump, you can take your basal down 80 or 90% for a few hours, and that will help reverse the downward trend. Just like the threshold suspend feature does on the new Medtronic system, or if it senses a low, it stops the basal delivery. It doesn't work immediately, but after a couple of hours, the glucose does start to come up on its own. So you got options, and you can also stick some glucose tablets, like the fruit punch flavor, for example. You can go under your tongue or in your cheek, and some of it will absorb through the lining of the mouth.
Mm-hmm. So those are great tips for after we enjoy our blue Post-it note that gives us a pass to things because of our diabetes at amusement parks, then now we
have the actual card with me. I'm just trying to explain that it's a paper thing that people get. And it says on it, it'll say guest assistance card or special thing, and you just show it at the lines, and they say, all right, go ahead. And then you walk past 100 people who have been standing there sweating in the heat for hours.
Wishing they had diabetes.
That's one of the thankful things. Okay, number 9, and this might be a blatant advertisement, but as a person with diabetes, this book has changed my life. Whoever wrote it is some kind of genius. It's called Think Like a Pancreas, and you gotta have it.
I'm thankful for that book too. That's a pretty good book.
Absolutely. It's been on the Insomniac's bestseller list from the get-go.
And it's had several rewritings and sequels and prequels and editions and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's in the 2nd edition. It was named a best read for the type 1 diabetes community by the ADA. And I don't know what qualifies it as a bestseller, but it's done all right. It's done well. Among patients and healthcare providers, it's good reading. So that's awesome. My blatant advertisement. All right, and then number 10, the moment we've all been waiting for, and someone stole my freaking thunder before.
Sarah.
The online community is the bomb. It's great. I mean, some of my best friends I've met through the diabetes online community, or they've become members of it, and hey, we're all one big we're one big family. And it is nice to be able to commiserate and laugh about this, and it does make life a lot more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure. Mm-hmm. That's why we're all here. So I want to hear from folks in the chat room, and I'll read stuff out. I want to hear more of the things that others are also thankful for. I saw earlier we have a number of members who are very thankful to be alive. We have some members here who have had diabetes for a very, very long time, who are diagnosed well before not only CGMs but glucose monitors of any kind. And it's pretty incredible that they are still with us and healthy and doing well. And a lot of us know who I'm specifically talking about, because we have a star member in particular who's had type 1 diabetes for 78 years. And so that was one of the things, and I would second that one. Happy to be alive is a real good one. It's a nice, good starting place. And I'm looking in the chat room to see what else we've got for things that people are happy for. So people go ahead and thankful for. Go ahead and post stuff. And in the meantime, Gary, you and I can chat. You want to hear some of the things on my list of stuff I'm thankful for?
Yeah.
So I'm super thankful that I have access to the gadgets and the technology, that sort of the latest stuff. I have a CGM that I'm very thankful for, and an insulin pump that I'm very thankful for. And so I live in a place and am able to get the latest and greatest for the most part. And I'm super duper thankful for that. I'm also really this is going to sound kind of pompous to start off, but I'm really thankful for just my own fortitude that I have learned over my lifetime so far with diabetes. That I feel like there are so many tools that I've gotten from having diabetes, and I didn't particularly want any of those tools, but they're really, really useful tools. I mean, things like having perspective on what's really important in life. I feel like I have a pretty solid set of priorities. I feel like I know myself very, very well, and I think a lot of that is from having to sort of grapple with myself a lot around my diabetes and my experience in life and the fact that I was different from most of my peers. In fact, I didn't know anybody else with diabetes growing up. From my peers growing up, and there's just this sort of infinite world of things that people with diabetes experience that are not experienced by people who don't have diabetes. Mm-hmm. And I think each of those things in the moment can feel like I really, really wish I was not faced with this challenge. I so don't want this challenge. But over sort of the long period of time, those challenges accumulate into some really good lessons and tools if we allow them to. And I'm thankful that I feel like I've been able to learn a lot of lessons and gain a lot of tools in my journey with diabetes. What are some lessons and tools that you think you've gained in your journey with diabetes?
I've learned to accept a lot of imperfection. You learn tolerance. It's such an inexact science that you learn a certain degree of tolerance. I think we all learn a lot about our health. We learn about how to take good care of ourselves. You take the average person with type 1 diabetes, and I think overall they're in better shape than people who don't have it, because we just pay more attention to what we eat and our exercise and our mental health. And like you said, we don't take things for granted quite as much.
Definitely. Definitely. I think that is a great point, that there are so many things that our families and friends and peers who do not have diabetes can kind of take for granted and not ever really think about, that we have to think about and be thankful for. Mm-hmm. We have some great stuff in the chat room right now. This is real interesting. Bob in the chat room says that he's thankful for the Affordable Care Act and his ability to get insurance. And I wonder, Gary, how much do you know about how the ACA works for people with diabetes?
It works for people with diabetes just like it works for people without diabetes. It's really intended as a catastrophic coverage plan. If you have a chronic illness, you're going to have to fork over a lot of out-of-pocket costs, a lot of out-of-pocket money, because typically there are huge deductibles and huge co-pays associated with them. However, God forbid there's some major expense that comes along, these plans will keep a person out of bankruptcy and allow them to still live on their own and have a fairly normal life, whereas if they didn't have it, I don't know what they would do. They wouldn't be able to access the kind of care and treatment that they need.
That sounds like a good thing to be thankful for. We have David in the chat room is saying that he's thankful to be in a position to help others. That's a beautiful thing. David is a member of our administrative team on TuDiabetes, and so he works very, very hard and very tirelessly to keep TuDiabetes a welcoming, safe, and comfortable community for all people with diabetes. And so yeah, David, you're definitely in a position to help others, and you do a beautiful, beautiful job of it. Gary, you're also in a position to help others. So what's your philosophy about, I'll put the camera back on me for a second. Because your job, your profession is helping people with diabetes, then how does that mix for you with the fact that you have diabetes yourself and that you also, I'm assuming, I think if you didn't have this profession, you would still want to help people with diabetes. You would still want to be a part of the DOC and be involved in this. So how does the professional part of that mix with then just your passion about helping people?
Now, the professional part makes it tough. I'm kind of like someone who waits tables in a restaurant all day. The last thing you want to do is eat your meals in that restaurant too. I tend to, I don't pay as much attention to my own diabetes as I probably should. I just, you get mentally tired after a while. I spend 10, 12 hours a day working with other people on their diabetes management, and don't have a lot of energy left for mine. But I'll keep that any day. If I can help a lot of people, it's certainly worthwhile. It is one of the struggles, though, because I recognize not everybody can afford what we do. And I have a policy of never turning someone away who can't afford our normal fees. So I try to get creative and ask people, well, can you do some volunteer work? Is there an organization you can commit some time to? Or maybe even, can you just send us some really good cookies? We'll deal with it that way. So there's different ways I think we can get people to contribute to the greater good.
We have a persistent curiosity in the chat room. This is Swiss Chocolate has, I think, asked a couple of times, and I missed it the first time or two around, so I'm sorry, Swiss. But a while ago, Gary, when you were talking about your gratitude for the pass that people with diabetes can get at amusement parks, and then we talked about what do you do with insulin dosing and blood sugar and stuff if you get sick at an amusement park. And Swiss Chocolate was saying that she's not comfortable with the intramuscular syringes that glucagon comes in, because you had suggested that one can use glucagon if you can't keep food down. And she asked if you can use regular insulin syringes to inject glucagon instead.
Yeah, I thought that was what I had said, but maybe I glossed over that. Yeah, if you're going to give yourself glucagon, you don't need to use the big needle that comes with it. You probably should use an insulin syringe needle and just inject it into the fat under the skin. Thank you, Swiss Chocolate. I hear myself saying that, but
I don't know. I'm listening and also reading in the chat room, so sometimes I miss something. I don't know if you said it or not. But it's really good information to know, because that's a really ginormous syringe that you get with glucagon. What else do we have here? Gary, we're almost out of time. This has flown by so quickly. Do you have any sort of final thankful or Thanksgiving messages for our folks who are watching right now?
Well, the Eagles-Cowboys game is at 4:30. Send your good vibrations and wishes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and hopefully they will pull through with a victory. And certainly, if there's anybody out in TV land, I hate that's so funny. Anyone out there who is looking for some additional help with their diabetes, just give my office a call. We do remote service, remote consults all over the world. Our website is integrateddiabetes.com. All of our information is there. I got a great team of clinicians here, all of whom have type 1 diabetes. So we have the personal and professional expertise that it takes to really help.
Yeah, and in fact, we had a live interview just last week for those of you who were here for the interview with Jennifer Smith about diabetes and pregnancy. She is on staff with Gary at Integrated Diabetes and is absolutely wonderful. And so go check out that website, integrateddiabetes.com. Gary, I'm thankful for you and for our partnership. For those who don't know, we've had a live interview with Gary every other month for this year, and it's been a great collaboration, very, very popular, and so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I know you and that we've been on this collaboration together for this year, and this is the last of those talks for the year. So thank you for all your time and energy this year. I know we'll still have you back because we can't do without you.
I'll say right back at you, and fist bump.
Fist bump! Have a great Thanksgiving, Gary.
You too.
Bye, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Bye-bye.